Next on Worcester News tonight, a Webster store clerk charged with assaulting a customer faces a judge today. Now more victims are speaking out. Plus, a water main break in Worcester leaves several residents without water. DPW crews work to clean up the mess. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. A Central Massachusetts store clerk accused of assaulting a female customer faces a judge today. Tonight, we're hearing from the alleged victim about the assault and others who say something similar has happened to them. Our Chandler Walsh joins us live now with the details. Chandler?
Olivia, it's not the first time Ahmad Ali has faced these types of charges. The woman who says he sexually assaulted her says she's speaking out so it doesn't happen to others. Ali was in court today for unrelated charges. Ahmad Ali faces a judge for the second time this week. The store clerk at Gilbert's Market in Webster was arrested Sunday for indecent assault and battery. The victim says she purchased scratch tickets on her birthday. She says Ali gave her more tickets as a present and hugged her.
Gave him a half a hug and went to turn my back to go out the door. And he grabbed both my arms, put them behind me, held them like really, really, really tight. And he rubbed himself up against me and then made a sexual comment.
Police say surveillance video matches the victim's story. Ali was also charged with indecent assault and battery on a minor in 2016, but he was not convicted. He was on probation for assault and battery. Ali's siblings defend his latest actions.
If she don't like it, she can speak, I don't like the hug. And he gave the lottery. Why she take the lottery ticket?
Since the new charges became public, more women have come forward on social media.
There was one other man parked outside and he was trying to hold a conversation with me for a while and almost waiting for that guy to leave. And once the man left, he then went over to me and grabbed me by the arm and tried to give me a hug, but I pushed him away.
This woman says the 20-year-old clerk showed her pictures on his phone he had taken of her while she shopped in the store. She says hearing another woman had a similar experience with Ali makes her uncomfortable.
It made my heart drop because I remember how I felt when it happened to me. And if it happened to me, I can only imagine how many other girls he's tried this with.
Webster police are urging other possible victims to speak to them.
This is not typical to our community. We would like anybody to come forward that has any interactions so that we can help them.
Ali is being held on $1,000 cash bail for Sunday's charges, but the bail for his 2016 case was revoked, so he remains behind bars. He'll be back in court in May.
All right, thank you, Chandler. A water main break in Worcester leaves dozens of homes without water Wednesday. The break happened around 8 a.m. this morning on Vassar Street. City Department of Public Works crews were out fixing the issue for more than 6 hours. One crew member says some pipes in the area are old and unfortunately can break more easily. Crews had to dig more than 5 feet down into the road to fix the problem. Neighbors say turning on their water today was a surprise.
And I'm like, oh, we got brown water today. That's all I thought. I usually keep water in the refrigerators.
And DPW says residents should have their water back on at this point. Oxford Town Manager Brian Palaia announces his resignation in a joint letter with town selectmen. The board came to a separation agreement with him in an executive session. NBC 10 Boston reports Palaia was on paid administrative leave since he failed an alcohol test on the job. The letter released at Tuesday's selectmen's meeting goes on to say Palaia has been working with the board on several matters, including identifying needs and effecting the best transition. The letter says he will remain available to assist while the board looks for someone else to fill his role. A new long-term strategic plan is unveiled for Worcester Public Schools. It's been more than 25 years since the last one was adopted, and while it still needs to be approved by the school committee, one member says it shouldn't be an issue. Our Brittany Schaefer joins us live now with the details. Brittany?
Olivia, the plan focuses on 5 main points: innovation, academic excellence, welcoming schools, funding, and technology. Creators say the plan will boost areas in Worcester Public Schools that are coming up short.
This is something that we believe is critical to the success of Worcester.
A long-term strategic plan for Worcester Public Schools is now available to the public. The work by the Worcester Regional Research Bureau and Worcester Education Collaborative is 2 years in the making.
As Worcester becomes a more diverse community, a community that struggles with issues of poverty, disengagement, how do we make sure that every student has the tools they need to succeed?
The plan calls for more personalized learning in Worcester schools.
You can't focus on a large class of 30 students when each student really has very different experiences and unique approaches and needs to learning. And within that, an early warning system to know when students are struggling and potentially on a track that they could fail.
Research Bureau Executive Director Timothy McGurthy says additional state funding is needed for the 5-year plan to work.
One of the key pieces that we highlight in this strategic planning process and in the report is that Chapter 70 funding fails for the urban centers of Massachusetts. It doesn't take into account the challenges that the city of Worcester faces.
All my life as an educator, I can tell you that we need to get the state and the governor to move on those on the funding.
14-year school committee member John Monfredo likes the plan and says it shouldn't have a problem being approved by the school committee.
In general, it's a solid plan. We talk about a welcoming environment, and as a former principal, I can tell you how essential that is. That's really another essential part of this plan.
Residents will be able to give their feedback on the plan at 10 Lincoln Square on May 7th at 6 p.m. Olivia?
All right, thank you, Brittany. More than $15 million is owed to the state's Department of Transportation on out-of-state drivers. MassDOT says more than 456,000 out-of-state drivers traveling the Mass Pike without an Easy Pass owe tolls and fees. The state can only force payments from drivers in Maine and New Hampshire because of agreements they have in place. In those states, Massachusetts can block drivers with outstanding toll balances from renewing their vehicle registration after 90 days without payment. MassDOT is looking into the possibility of hiring a firm to assist with collecting overdue out-of-state charges. On Cape Cod today, family, friends, and hundreds of police officers saying their final farewells to now Sgt Shaun Gannon. The officer posthumously after being killed in the line of duty. Abby Niscoda has more.
Left, right, and left.
The streets of this small town in Cape Cod, hardly big enough to contain the grief for a fallen hero.
Unfortunately, tragedy knows no boundaries.
But this is what it means to be part of a brotherhood as Yarmouth police say goodbye to one of their own.
It's not something we look forward to, but it's something we have to do.
A somber tribute to Sgt Shaun Gannon, who was shot and killed while serving a warrant last week. He was 32.
Well, that's a tremendous loss for not only his family, but the department and the entire community.
A husband, a brother, and a son who will be missed by all who knew him.
Very sweet man. Sweet and kind, and he had that big smile on him.
That smile remembered inside the doors of St. Pius X Catholic Church, where his friends and family gathered for his funeral, and those outside paused to listen to the pastor on a speaker.
Might have called him the Tom Brady of the YPD, but he was our star.
A star, and now a sergeant. Yarmouth police posthumously promoting the canine officer before his casket was carried out for a private burial. A final journey as this small Cape Cod town sent their hero home.
So hopefully all of us being here today brings his family some comfort and, the difficult coming weeks ahead.
You can see the Yarmouth police cruiser still sits outside of this church. The blue ribbons surround it. And you'll see those blue ribbons throughout this community. Even now that the services here are over, what many who live here say is just their way of saying thank you to the man who died protecting them. In Yarmouth, I'm Abby Niscoda, Worcester News Tonight.
Tonight, the nation is mourning the loss of a former First Lady, some even calling her the matriarch of a political dynasty. Barbara Bush visited Worcester back in 1992, and one local business who helped provide technical equipment says it's a day he'll never forget. Our Rosalind Flaherty joins us live now with more on the former First Lady's visit. Rosalind?
Olivia, the owner of Worcester Sound and Light says he got the call last minute to provide equipment and says he dropped everything to be there. Former First Lady Barbara Bush made stops in Worcester in September of 1992, campaigning for her husband. She spoke to a full house at Mechanics Hall. On the same day, she spoke at Zion Lutheran Church, and Joseph Tortorelli helped provide equipment for the visit.
We had an hour's notice, and they called us, and I understand the streets are all blocked. The Secret Service says, well, we'll have everything opened up.
The owner of Worcester Sound and Light says the room was packed and he didn't get a chance to speak with Mrs. Bush.
There's so many people, they want her autograph.
But he says he remembers her as a friendly woman.
She liked talking to people. She was very quiet when she spoke. She had a very soft voice. And she wouldn't turn away anybody. I remember her walking into the church, and they started talking and shaking everybody's hand.
Tortorelli got a letter from the White House thanking him for providing equipment. Bush's family announced earlier this week she was in failing health and would decline further medical treatment. Tortorelli says he was surprised to hear her passing happen so fast, but knows her legacy will live on.
We lost a beautiful person, a mother, a grandmother, the mother of a president, the wife of a president. You know, how many people can say that?
Now, Barbara will be laid to rest on Saturday in Houston.